Urgent Steelers fan, look at what just happened. Nobody saw this coming, huh? But first, make sure to subscribe to the channel because we bring you daily videos with the latest your team news. And don't forget to turn on notifications so you don't miss anything. Steelers could find quarterback solution with ex-Eagles. First-round pick if the Pittsburgh Steelers don't hear from Aaron Rodgers about his decision to play or not soon, they could be in trouble. Heading into a season with Mason Rudolph as your starting quarterback doesn't excite anyone in the organization, and it may have to address a plan B during or after the NFL draft in April. Christopher Klein of Fansided suggests one of those backup plans might involve Philadelphia Eagles' number 2 overall pick. Carson Wentz has been on the journeyman's path in recent years, wrote Klein. The number 2 overall pick not long ago, Wentz was the engine behind a Super Bowl-winning Eagles team. He was supposed to be the next star quarterback, a perennial Pro Bowl candidate with MVP upside. Injuries and other, shortcomings took their toll, however. Now he's just looking for a job. Most forget that Wentz was a league MVP candidate in 2017 before he blew his knee out, and the Eagles went on to beat Tom Brady and the New England Patriots in the Super Bowl behind Nick Foles. Since the injury, Wentz hasn't been able to find his footing back in the league. Pausing this news just to say that if you want YouTube to keep recommending the latest, the black and gold news to you, it's very important that you leave a like on this video. Thanks. Now let's get back to the news. Steelers willing to wait for. Aaron Rodgers insiders explain why, at least on the surface, the Pittsburgh Steelers remain calm and collected under pressure as their entire offseason could ride on the decision of veteran quarterback Aaron Rodgers. ESPN NFL insiders Jeremy Fowler and Louis Riddick echoed that sentiment on March 29th while providing an update on Rodgers and the Steelers on SportsCenter. The Steelers are willing to be pretty patient, Fowler began, after being asked about their pursuit of Rodgers. My sense is the Steelers remain optimistic here, and they are willing to wait. In fact, I've talked to several people in the quarterback market, including in and around Russell Wilson's free agency, who just figured that the Steelers must be gotten some sort of loose assurance from Rodgers at some point that he was going to play there, Fowler explained, reiterating that it feels like right now Rodgers' options are Steelers, retirement, or does he want to just wait 3 or 4 months on the Minnesota Vikings to see if they change their mind. The other reason they're so willing to wait, per Riddick, is that their current focus is on the 2025 NFL Draft and this incoming quarterback class. I think Pittsburgh, regardless, they have to be doing their homework on the draft-eligible quarterbacks and looking at who they possibly could bring into the fold as a long-term solution, Riddick voiced on Saturday morning. Continuing, so I think there's 2 things that Pittsburgh is dealing with. 1, do we put a timeline on Aaron Rodgers? And 2, does it really matter? Because right now, all of our efforts are really focused in on making sure our draft board is straight. Riddick then discussed potentially moving up for a QB prospect like Shedder Sanders or trading back for someone like Tyler Show and additional draft capital. I think that's where their focus is right now, he concluded, stating that he understands their patience if Pittsburgh is resigned to draft a quarterback either way. Steelers losing Aaron Rodgers to Vikings seems unlikely, per NFL insider Jeremy Fowler. Within the update above, Fowler added that Rodgers to the Vikings seems unlikely at this point, despite their general manager's comments this week. In the same breath, he noted that Pittsburgh appears to be Allen on Rodgers, which is more of a confirmation than actual news. Minnesota has been wishy-washy in their pursuit of Rodgers, backing 2024 first-rounder J.J. McCarthy and his continued development. On the flip side, it's been pretty obvious that the Steelers want the future Hall of Fame signal caller for some time now. Fowler's Steelers remain, Allen, and optimistic they'll land Aaron Rodgers. The Pittsburgh Steelers are playing one heck of a waiting game for Aaron Rodgers. As the calendar is set to turn from March to April, the Steelers are still unsure who their 2025 starter will be. However, according to ESPN insider Jeremy Fowler, the team remains confident Rodgers will ultimately come to Pittsburgh for more than a visit. They're willing to be pretty patient, Fowler told SportsCenter's Amina Smith Friday. My sense is the Steelers remain optimistic here, and they are willing to wait. The New York Giants signing Russell Wilson and bowing out of the Rodgers sweepstakes appeared to be an admission that Rodgers intends to sign with Pittsburgh. If not the Steelers, His other playing options are limited. He can wait out the Minnesota Vikings and hope they become more interested down the road, or for some other opportunity to open up should injuries strike in the spring and summer. Neither are solid plans if Rodgers wants to play one more season. Pittsburgh signed Mason Rudolph back and has an eye toward the future, but their pursuit of a potential rookie quarterback won't take them off the Rodgers trail. So the Steelers appear. Alan Fowler said of their interest in Rodgers, "I know they're doing a lot of homework on draft-eligible quarterbacks to potentially pull the trigger on one of those. They still have their sights set on Rodgers. Timeline is still very loose here to figure that out. For Rodgers, retirement has also always been an option. Turning 42 in December, Rodgers is at the end of his career, and walking away after a torn Achilles in 2023 and a difficult 2024 season is logical. But the universal belief is that Rodgers wants to play at least one more season and possibly longer, especially if he can do so for a contender. Perhaps that's his dilemma. Is Pittsburgh in a good enough position to win now? The Steelers are always wildcard competitive, but they haven't won a postseason game in 8 years. In 2024, they tried a similar strategy with Russell Wilson, signing the castaway veteran in the hopes that his experience, leadership, and Super Bowl resume would put them over the top. The results were no different. Adding DK Metcalf is attractive, and if the Steelers' young offensive line develops, Pittsburgh will have the pieces together to create a top 10 unit. Still, it hasn't been enough to make Rodgers jump at the chance. Even as Pittsburgh remains the favorite, if only because they're the last team standing, the wait is making everyone anxious. Steelers QB target could sit out 2025 per Insider. The Pittsburgh Steelers and their fans wait for an answer from Aaron Rodgers about where he'll play, if anywhere, in 2025. And the longer we go without an answer, it seems increasingly likely that Rodgers might not play anywhere this upcoming season. On Thursday, ESPN's Adam Schefter reported on Get Up that Rodgers could sit out next season if he can't join the Minnesota Vikings, his team of choice. He met with their coaches. The two sides talked about what it would be like to work together, but there still was no answer about what Aaron Rodgers wants to do, Schefter said at the 230 mark. There are people who believe that he may not play this year. There are people who believe he's waiting to see if something might open down the line in Minnesota with the Vikings, but nobody knows for sure what Aaron Rodgers' game plan is, and for the time being, the Steelers are in the dark. The Vikings seem out of play for Rodgers after general manager Kwesi Adofo-Mensah told reporters that he made it clear to Rodgers that he could be a backup to last year's number 10 pick, J.J. McCarthy. "I think we got to a place where we just said, everybody was transparent. But right now, we feel good about where we're going, and that's really how it ended," Adofo-Mensah said of the Vikings' talks with Rodgers. "It's ultimately up to him. It's hard to talk about a player who's not under contract for our team and who isn't a member of this team. It's ultimately up to him what he decides to do with his future, but that's kind of where we left it." Meanwhile, the Steelers, who apparently don't have a backup plan beyond Mason Rudolph, could be out of luck in 2025. And now, Steelers fan, I want to hear from you. What's your opinion on this? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I don't know if you know this, but your opinion matters a lot for the Black and Gold. I'll be back any moment with more Steeler Nation news. Here we go, Steelers. Here we go.